All right, my in-studio guest today, I'm going to get it right, Jason Corley, running for Congressional District 19. How you doing this morning?
Oh, can't complain.
All right, you kind of, I don't want to hurt you any here. You came out of left field, man.
Yep.
I didn't know who you were. We went to the KFYO debate watch party the other night, and here's Jason Corley for Congress, and I love it. I love a large field. I love our everyday hardworking people getting out and running for office because they're ready to make a difference. So tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, where you're from, your background.
Well, you pretty well hit the nail on the head with that one. We need more just everyday people to get involved with politics. My name's Jason Corley. I grew up out in the Woodrow area, in Cooper District.
Go Pirates!
Yes, sir. Went to school at West Texas A&M up in Canyon, and then came back home and decided to get into the oil field. I've been doing that ever since. Bounced back and forth a little bit between production and drilling, and yeah, it's been good to me up until now. What just really got me motivated to get into politics is just a lot of things came about that I just never thought I would actually see in my lifetime. I just never thought it could actually happen. That and the economy being one of the biggest motivating factors for me. Every which way that I'm trying to make a living, our government's trying to shut me down. Everybody's seen the price of oil. Right now, you've got 150,000 oil field workers laid off, and nobody's talking about that. If it was any other industry, they'd be screaming from the rooftops, but not a word. Congress has finally lifted the ban to allow us to export oil. That's a hangover from the 70s, oil embargoes. That should have been done a long time ago. Our government needs to be doing anything and everything they can do to encourage the American economy, not hold it down or hold it back. Another business that my wife and I have is roughneckstuff.com there in Slayton. We sell oil field safety equipment, flame retardant clothing. We ship it all over the country. And our government's been talking about ceding control of the internet over to some sort of world governing body. And guess who's just volunteered to step up and take the reins of that? The Chinese. So, that's strike two for me as far as how I'm trying to make a living. We also have a farm in Lynn County, and the 2014 Farm Bill sure didn't do us any favors. So, finally I just had enough. I was going to have to do something. That, and right now I think we're paying $900 a month for our Affordable Health Care Act premiums, and it's just ridiculous. I pay more for that than I do on my mortgage.
Let me jump in here and interrupt you. What's the primary crop you grow on your farm?
Cotton.
Thank you very much. Where do you gen it at?
I'm sorry. Right there at Union Gen.
Union Gen. Okay, great. All right, so you're well-rounded. You've got a petrochem background. You've got an ag background. And I think it's you can understand this when you see gas this low. Mm-hmm. Is this really a problem? I mean, people jump for joy. It's cheap to fill up that SUV. What does that really mean, though, for our Texas economy?
Well, it's not much different than it is in cotton. If the price of cotton goes down, that's bad for the entire economy of Lubbock. Every dollar a cotton farmer makes turns over 8 times before it leaves the economy. Oil's no different. When oil gets down this low, everybody's excited about the gas price that they're paying at the pump. But, what you're not seeing is all, and ask any car lot salesman. They can tell you. When oil drops like this, people don't buy more cars. Stop at the Warfield next time you're passing through Midland, Midland, Odessa. It's a big truck stop there. Everybody stops, gets something to eat before they get back on the road. Talk to the waitresses there. See how it's affected their bottom line. Something else. Ask my 9-year-old Dylan. What the difference is between $100 a barrel Christmas and a $36 a barrel Christmas is. Everybody knows if you're involved with it. But overall, there's a ton of tax revenue that goes to the states, that goes to the counties, that goes to the school districts. Where you have oil, and a lot of times in Lubbock County we don't think so much about it, but there's quite a few oil wells around this county as well. Small fields. Also, that Klein Shale, as that moves more this direction, that's going to be a big boom for our economy, and we want to do anything we can to encourage that. Yeah,
and I can relate. I grew up in Odessa, Texas. My father was in we worked for an oil tool company. We were. I mean, oil was king then, and we felt the first bust in the '80s, and I mean that brought us to Lubbock. He was searching for something else to do. It just it didn't rebound, and I've got friends, family, neighbors, everybody that's been affected has been laid off. So it affects everybody. And I think it's important to continue to say that because we forget about gas prices. When gas is $3 a gallon, we're screaming, man, it's so expensive I can't afford to take a trip. I sure wish the government would do something about this. But they don't realize how much money is being injected into our economy when it's that high.
Oh, definitely. And even if you wanted to bring down the price of gas, something you could get our government to do that would help us out is just get off our backs with the EPA. Our refiners, they need to go in. They've got to upgrade to to change their processes to be able to refine this light and sweet crude that we're producing from all the shale oil that we have. Well, our refineries are set up to refine heavy crudes and midweight crudes, so they're having to import those crudes in to be able to do that, and that's where our gasoline supply is coming from. If they'd let us go ahead and go through and rework some of these refineries, just get off those guys' backs a little bit. And Bush did some good things in his administration to help lessen that, stop all the ridiculous lawsuits, like for the spotted owl that only lives on one side of the mountain and nests in Target signs, and just all the ridiculous stuff that would come up to stop these guys from trying to refine and make a better product, one that even pollutes less.
I don't want to take away from your time to talk about other topics, but oil is interesting. So one of the comments that I read on the internet when I was looking through this omnibus bill and that it does open up foreign oil export was one of the comments was that's going to hurt our local refineries because it's going to send crude overseas and we'll lose jobs in the refineries. I mean, do you think that's true, or it doesn't sound right to me?
No, I don't buy it. Our refineries are having to run at capacity just to supply us what they can do now, and then we're still having to import oil as well. This is going to open up. There'll be other competitors for that crude that our producers are trying to sell. It'd be like if you could only sell cotton in one place. You'd be keeping the price artificially low and not allowing supply and demand to dictate that price.
Right. And how does the Keystone Pipeline play into this? Does it have anything to do with exporting oil? Will it change the game as well? Will it hurt it, help it? How does it fit in?
Well, one, our president said he wanted shovel-ready jobs. That was a shovel-ready project from the get-go. Two, let's see. Right now, most of that oil sands, they mine that oil with dump trucks and bulldozers, more or less. It's not something you drill for. That oil, if we don't take it, if it doesn't come to the United States, Canada already said they were going to pipe it straight to the West Coast and sell it right to the Chinese. So, yeah, I'd rather see it come down here, go through our refineries, and leave this country as a refined product. Because otherwise, if that supply goes elsewhere, okay, well, where are those refineries going to get that extra oil from? Right. Then you could be seeing refineries losing jobs, losing people, driving up the price of oil because you've allowed a much bigger competitor to come in and start buying it.
Sure. All right, let's shift gears. Let's your other area of expertise, agriculture. And the other candidates I had in this week, they all agree for the most part that we've got to do something about cotton. And one of the things that's been brought up is making cottonseed a Title I commodity. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about all that? Do you agree with it? Do you think that creating another essential government welfare program for cotton farmers is what we need, or do we need to try to reinforce cotton and make it competitive in the market where farmers can stand without government help?
Well,
and I set you up
here's
there.
what.
I'm sorry. You can go any way you want
to
with that.
Not at all. Not at all. That's definitely a fair question. Here's the difference when you subsidize cotton versus other government aid programs. When you subsidize our cotton farmers, we're having to do that to help them compete with an unfair trade agreements that we've already signed. First thing I'd say, the World Trade Organization, pull out of it, get rid of it. Just go to the next time we go to the table and say, okay, look, we hold the keys to the kingdom here. This is the largest retail market in the United States. If you want to sell your stuff here, then you're going to be doing it on a fair basis. Because right now you've got Brazil subsidizing their farmers who sued us in the first place, is what got us in this mess to get started with. Then you've got China subsidizing their farmers, and India all doing the exact same. They're running John Deere cotton strippers. They're running they've got modern cotton gins. And the thing about it, the guys over there, their farmers are, it looks like, old plantations almost. Just massive farming operations that we don't have here, all subsidized by their governments. Now, our cotton farmer, he's competing directly with these guys. Him and a couple, maybe a few thousand acres and a couple of guys working for him, and he's not receiving that subsidy. We've created some unfair hurdles for our cotton farmers to have to get over, and for our textile mills that want to build and operate here in the United States. All of that cotton goes to China for one reason. That's where the mills are. we've priced ourselves out in so many different areas, in this country, that it just doesn't make sense for those guys to even want to build over here. I mean, the Littlefield plant shut down last year, I believe. If you've ever been to Old Mill Trade Days in Post, that used to be a cotton mill. It just makes perfect sense if you stop and think about it. Why wouldn't you build cotton mills right where you grow the cotton? I mean, not pay the transport fees. But they're not here. It all goes over China, and we tolerate that. We allow them to use cheap labor, child labor, and whatever else to produce that product, and then buy it over here, for next to nothing. We need to try to bring that industry back home. I'd be all for, if you're going to subsidize something, if you want to increase the price of cotton, subsidize any company that's willing to come over here and build textile mills. That's what we ought to be doing, and not necessarily a direct payment to them, but maybe set up some good tax advantages. Get the corporate tax from those guys down. I mean, right now for us it's like 34%. Well, no wonder our businesses go overseas. I mean, that's just common sense right there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And $800 a bag seed on our side, and $300 there.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take the break, and when we come back, more with Jason Corley. I'm Steve Evans in for Chad Hasty on KFYO. Back on the Chad Hasty Show. I'm Steve Evans in for Chad today. Thank you, Maggie. Get rid of that Christmas music. All right. Sitting with Jason Corley, candidate for Congressional District 19. We've talked about oil, something I hadn't talked about this week. We've talked about ag. Let's move into immigration. It's another hot button issue. Everybody's talking about. Trump is lighting the news on fire with it about building a wall. What are your priorities on immigration?
Building a wall is an important thing, and it should have been done. I mean, just build it already. I mean, we should have been. It's like trying to catch water in a sieve. It just runs right out the bottom. We should have built a wall on our southern border a long time ago. We don't just have people coming across our borders looking to make a better life anymore. We've got people coming over here with the expressed intent, to blow us up, to kill us any which way we can. The radical jihad is right here on the doorstep now. It's not something we see on the news. It's, in a foreign country. It's something we see on the news, right down the road in Dallas, Texas, in Oklahoma. I used to work not too far from when that woman got her head cut off by what was called a co-worker, quote unquote, in workplace violence. No, that's not what that is. That's jihad. I mean, call it what it is. And our president won't even say the word. As far as immigration control, build the wall already. And people try to tell you that's not compassionate. I can tell you for this much, from working down on the border, we were having kids come up, just walking up with backpacks on that are, hadn't had any water in maybe a day or two, showing up on drilling rigs, needing food, needing whatever. And, of course, you help them out, and then you find out what's really going on, that the cartels are using these young boys, same age as my son, to run drugs into our country. And, because they know that, if you see a kid like that, you're going to help them. So God knows what happens to these kids, the ones that don't make it, when we find them out there in the desert. No, we need to build the wall. That's one of the most compassionate things you can do. Something else, bring back the Bersario program. Anybody wants to come work in this country, let them. We'll set up. We can set up a visa system, set up a way to track them. I mean, we did this back in the '60s and had complete control over it.
Go ahead and elaborate on that, on what that program is, because I'm not completely familiar with it.
The Bersario program. This was for Mexican citizens who wanted to work in the United States. It was predominantly agriculture jobs. To my knowledge, I don't know of any manufacturing jobs they may have been involved with, but predominantly agriculture. So what would happen was you take your papers, you go to this office on one of our borders. Fill out the paperwork. They verify who you were. They gave you, a green card back then that had your picture on it, and then this worker would be put on a bus and sent north up into the country. And they had labor camps set up to where they get there, get dropped off. A farmer that wanted to hire someone out. This is back in the days when we had to handpick all of our crops. Would go to the labor camp, say, "Hey, I'm going to need 10 guys to get the harvest in." He had to prove that he had a place to house them, food to feed them, and a set wage was already determined at this point. Nobody got cheated. So they'd load these guys up. They'd go out to the farm, and that farmer was required to keep track of his workers at all times while they were there. Once the harvest was over, he would load everybody up, take them back to the labor camp, and then if they wanted to go home, they could go home. If they wanted to continue to work, they would ship them to a different part of the country where you had more work going on. Excuse me, it worked great for years. I don't know why we ever got rid of it. Put a program like that in place. Anybody wants to come to this country and work, hey, why not? We need the help.
Okay. All right. Steve Evans sitting with Jason Corley, Congressional District 19 candidate. Let's shift gears again. How big an issue is water? And is it a states' right? Is it something that the federal government needs to be looking at? Something you're interested in, or something we just need to leave alone and let the state deal with?
I say let the state deal with it, and let the states work it out between the two. I know it's gone back and forth with New Mexico over how much water they allow to, slip past their dams to go down the Pecos River. Texas, we've worked that back and forth, and we've worked that out to a certain extent. We can set that system up just fine. Now, here's something that's always crossed my mind. We pipe oil all over this country. I mean, from one end to the other. We pipe any chemical that we need to get from one place to another, and the most efficient way to do it is to pipe it there. We've done this for years. Why not run pipelines from the Mississippi over to the Midwest? And I know it takes some hydraulic horsepower to lift that water up. We're finding that out, getting our water from Lake Allen Henry. But anyways, pipe that water over here to the Midwest. Start filling up your reservoirs. Start at the northern part of the plains and work your way down. Fill these reservoirs up as you go. Our populations are only expanding. We've got to figure something out. And I know that sounds drastic, but I'm not hearing any other ideas at this point. So I say, if drastic's what we need, by all means, let's look into it. Let's see if we can do that.
Where are you at on the desalinization plan to drill deep wells and desalinate that water? Have you looked at that much?
I've heard a little bit about it in West Texas, Midland, Odessa was talking about doing that. They were looking at building a plant, and they were going to be taking basically brine water, and using the desalination process to turn it back into fresh water. It'll work. It's already proven. They do it in the Middle East all over, but it's expensive. That's the only thing. So they were looking to offset the cost of that by splitting off the brine and then selling that in the oil field as well, for different well servicing applications. So I don't know how big of a dent that's going to knock in the cost of that operation, but if you're out of water, you're out of water. So
right,
that's fixing to become our most expensive commodity.
All right, I've got just about a minute left. The question that I asked all the other candidates I had in this week, and you can roll with it. How do you become instantly effective as a freshman representative? New to D.C., how do you make your mark and be a true representative of West Texas?
I think we need to remember about West Texas. This is the reddest district in the entire country. We don't even have a Democratic candidate running for this spot. So we need to be the mouthpiece for conservatism. We need to put somebody in there who is loud and out there all the time. I mean, look at Ted Cruz. Look at what he's managed to stir up. Look at Ron Paul. Look at Rand Paul even before him. Look what these guys were able to stir up and just get people talking and get people thinking. We need to put one more person in there like that that's going to start shoving this party, back to the right.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. All right, Jason Corley for Congress. You got a website you want to throw out real quick?
You can catch me at Corley for Congress on Facebook. That's the easiest way to do it.
Awesome. Thanks for coming by. I'm Steve Evans in for Chad Hasty today on the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk 790 KFYO. We'll be right back.